Derek Lewis versus Alexei Oleinik is a heavyweight bout. Derek Lewis has achieved a record of 23 wins, 7 losses. Alexei Oleinik has achieved a record of 59 wins, 13 losses, and 1 draw. Alright, so Alexei Oleinik's 59 wins are not spread out at all, as 8 were by KO, 5 were by decision, and a total of 46 of his wins have came by way of submission. His 13 losses have come mainly by KO, with 4 decision losses, 2 submission losses, and 7 KO losses. In the UFC, he's beaten guys like Travis Brown, Mark Hunt, and Fabricio Werdum. He's also fought Curtis Blades, Alistair Overeem, and Walt Harris. Alright, so let's take a look at his opponent, the Black Beast, Derek Lewis. So, Derek Lewis is pretty much an opposite of Alexei Oleinik, as 4 of his wins have come by decision, 1 by submission, and a grand total of 18 wins by KO. His losses have come by 2 decisions, 1 submission, and 4 KOs. So far in the UFC, he's beaten guys like Gabriel Gonzaga, Roy Nelson, Shamil Abdurrahimov, Marcin Tybura, Francis Ngannou, Alexander Volkov, Blagoy Ivanov, and Lalir Latifi. He's also fought guys like Daniel Cormier, Junior Dos Santos, and Mark Hunt. Alright, so in this fight, I expect that Alexei is going to be trying to take Derek down, probably to submit him, while Derek will use his very good takedown defense to keep the fight up and try to get the KO victory. Now, because Derek Lewis does have his takedown defense, he's much bigger and he's much better on the feet. I think those are the perfect ingredients to beat the boa constrictor by KO in the second round. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or just have something to say, make sure to put in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like, subscribe, with notifications turned on so you don't miss the absolute best MMA content out there. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Chris Weidman versus Omari Akhmedov is a middleweight bout. Chris Weidman has achieved a record of 14 wins, 5 losses. Omari Akhmedov has achieved a record of 20 wins, 4 losses, and 1 draw. Alright, so Omari Akhmedov is actually ranked 13th in the world at middleweight according to Tapology rankings, and Chris Weidman is ranked 89th in the world at light heavyweight. Alright, so Chris Weidman has had quite the career, as he ended up winning his first 13 pro MMA fights. He started off with a first-round Kimura on Ruben Lopez, then Mike Stewart by first-round KO, followed by Uriah Hall by first-round KO, then 2 unanimous decision victories in a row over Valdir Araujo, and then Alessio Sakara, and then after that he got 2 first-round submissions over Jesse Bongfeldt and Tom Lawler. And then after that, he fought one of the best grapplers of all time in Damian Maia, and ended up winning that fight by split decision. After that, he fought Mark Munoz, and he got the KO in the second round, which earned him a title shot against Anderson Silva. In his fight with Anderson, he ended up KOing Anderson, giving Weidman the belt. After that win, they had an immediate rematch, and in almost the same amount of time, he KO'd Anderson again. And after those 2 title wins, he actually ended up winning 2 more title defenses over Lyoto Machida by unanimous decision and Vitor Belfort by KO in the first round. Now, after that long stretch of a total of 13 pro MMA wins, he fought Luke Rockhold in another title bout, but he was KO'd from ground and pound in the middle of the 4th round. After his first pro loss, he fought Yoel Romero in his comeback fight, but he ended up getting KO'd from a flying knee in the beginning of the 3rd round. After his second loss, in a row, he fought Gegard Mousasi, but again, he got KO'd from a knee of Mousasi. After his 3rd loss ever and 3rd loss in a row against, honestly, really elite competition, he fought Kelvin Gastelum, another very good talent, and he ended up winning by arm triangle choke in the 3rd round. after his first win in about 2 years, he fought Ronaldo Souza, but he ended up getting KO'd in the third round. After he had another loss, he fought an absolute beast in Dominic Reyes up in light heavyweight, but he was finished in less than 2 minutes of the first round. As you guys can see, this guy has fought some really good fighters, and he's currently 36 years old at the time of me speaking this, and that's only 4 years older than his opponent, Omar Akhmedov. Okay, so Omar Akhmedov so far has competed in 12 fights inside the UFC, and so far is 8-3-1, with him beating guys like Thiago Perpetuo, Mats Nilsson, Brian Niebuhr-Solé, Kyle Noak, Abdul Razak Al-Hassan, Tim Boch, Zach Cummings, and Ian Heinisch, with his only losses coming to Gunnar Nelson, Sergio Moraes, and Elizu Zaleski. Also, his only draw came to a rising star and the closest person to beat Israel Adesanya in Marvin Vettori. Alright, so these two fighters are obviously very, very highly talented, but I think that Weidman, he's just gotten much slower, and he's way past his prime. While I would say Omar Akhmedov is probably in his prime currently right now, which leads to my decision. I think that Omar Akhmedov is going to get the win by decision. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or just have something to say, make sure to put in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like, subscribe, but with notifications turned on so you don't miss the absolute best MMA content out there. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Darren Stewart versus Maki Pitolo is a middleweight bout. Darren Stewart has achieved a record of 11 wins, 5 losses. Maki Pitolo has achieved a record of 13 wins, 5 losses. Alright, so Maki Pitolo, I would say, is probably much more of a striker than a grappler or wrestler, as 7 of his 13 wins actually came by KO. 3 were by submission, and the other 3 were by decision. Now, he's had some good wins here and there, but none of the guys he's beaten, aside from Charles Byrd, who he beat about a month ago, are really any good, as most of them have yet to compete in a major promotion. Also, of the guys he's faced, except for, again, Charles Byrd, none of them really have UFC talent, whereas Darren Stewart has 9 fights inside of the UFC, where he's faced guys like Francismar Barroso, who's a top 60 middleweight, Carl Robertson, who's a top 30 middleweight, Julian Marquez, who's a top 60 middleweight, Eric Spicely, who is also a top 60 middleweight, Charles Byrd, who Maki Pitolo also beat, Edmund Shabazian, who is the 11th best middleweight, Bevon Lewis, who was ranked 51st at middleweight, Deron Wynn, who is a top 50 middleweight, and also Baratz Fabian, who is also a top 50 middleweight. I mean, as you guys can see, Darren Stewart, he's really fought some good fighters, and he's done pretty well, whereas Maki Pitolo, he's only fought in really one guy, in Charles Byrd, who is a guy who was actually cut by the UFC roster. So, I mean, this decision seems pretty simple. I think that Darren Stewart is going to get the win by unanimous decision. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or just have something to say, make sure to put in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like, subscribe, with notifications turned on so you don't miss the absolute best MMA content out there. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Yana Kunitskaya versus Julia Leorenko is a women's bantamweight bout. Yana Kunitskaya has achieved a record 12 wins, 5 losses. Julia Leorenko has achieved a record of 9 wins, 4 losses, and 1 draw. Alright, so Julia Leorenko is actually making her debut inside of the UFC on Saturday, as her 13 previous fights have come in much lesser known promotions. Now, of her 9 wins, pretty much all of them have ended in armbar, as that is her special move when it comes to the ground. Now, of her 4 losses, 2 came by KO, and the other 2 came by decision, as she usually focuses on her ground game, and when that doesn't work, she usually gets picked apart on the feet. Alright, now, let's take a look at her opponent, Yana Kunitskaya. Alright, so Yana Kunitskaya has had 5 fights inside of the UFC, and in her first fight against the Tony Ferguson of that division at the time, and Chris Cyborg, she ended up losing that fight by TKO from ground and pound, and after that loss, she ended up racking up 2 straight wins over Lena Landsberg by unanimous decision, and Marion Renaud by unanimous decision. Now, after that small streak, she actually fought the 4th best bantamweight in the world in Aspen Ladd, but she ended up losing the same way she did in the Cyborg fight by ground and pound in the 3rd round. Alright, so Yana Kunitskaya is 3 years older than Juliha, but she's still in her prime, I would say, and Yana is the type of fighter that she's always outside of the top contender talk, and she always loses to the best, like the top 5 type of guys. But she always wins against people that are ranked below her. Always. And with that being said, I have Yana Kunitskaya winning this fight by unanimous decision. Alright. If you agree, disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like, subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss the absolute best MMA content out there. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Beneil Dariush versus Scott Holtzman is a lightweight bout. Beneil Dariush has achieved a record of 18 wins, 4 losses, and 1 draw. Scott Holtzman has achieved a record of 14 wins, 3 losses. Alright, so Scott Holtzman was actually an undefeated fighter when he first joined the UFC, and when he did back in 2015, he actually started off with a win over Tony Christodoulou. I don't know how to say the name. But he got that win by rear naked choke in the 3rd round. But then came his first loss ever against Drew Dober by unanimous decision. Now, after his first loss, he came back with a win over Cody Fitzer by unanimous decision, but then he got a loss to a very good fighter in Josh Emmett by decision. Now, after his second loss ever, he actually ended up going on a 3-fight win streak over Michael McBride by decision, Daryl Horcher by decision, and Alec Patrick by TKO. Now, after that 3-fight win streak, he fought a veteran fighter in Nick Lentz, but he ended up losing that fight by decision. But that was it for his losses, as he is currently on a 2-fight streak and hasn't lost since. Now, in those 2 losses against Dong Young Ma, he actually won that fight by doctor stoppage, and when he fought Jim Miller, he got the win by unanimous decision. Alright, now, let's take a look at his opponent, Beneil Dariush. Alright, so Beneil Dariush is actually 5 years younger than Holtzman at 31 years old, and he's actually undefeated at the time of his debut as well, and in his first fight of the promotion, he actually got the submission in the 1st round, but after that, he ended up losing to Ramsey Nijem by 1st round KO. Now, after that loss, he actually racked up 5 wins in a row as he beat Anthony Rocco Martin by 2nd round submission, Diego Fajeda by unanimous decision, Darren Cruikshank by 2nd round submission, Jim Miller by decision, and Michael Johnson by decision. Now, after that impressive streak, he was in the talks for almost in the talks for a title fight, but those talks were ended because in his fight with Michael Chiesa, he actually ended up getting submitted in the 2nd round. Now, after that loss, he was looking to come back, and he did with 2 straight wins over James Vick by 1st round KO and Rashid Magomedov by unanimous decision. But after that, he was followed by 2 straight losses against 2 absolute beasts in Edson Barbosa by 2nd round flying knee and Alexander Hernandez by 1st round KO. Now, since those losses, he actually has not lost since and is currently on a 4-fight win streak over Thiago Moises by decision, Drew Dober by 2nd round armbar, Frank Camacho by 1st round submission, and most recently, Drakkar Klose by 2nd round KO. Alright, so because Scott Holtzman is 36 years old at the time of this recording, and he's only fought in 2 big-name fighters, while Beneil Dariush has fought in guys like Anthony Rocco Martin, Diego Ferreira, Jim Miller, Michael Johnson, Michael Chiesa, James Vick, Edson Barbosa, and finally, Alexander Hernandez. I mean, this dude is just fighting beasts left and right, and he's actually beating most of them, which leads to my decision. I think that Beneil Dariush is going to get the win by submission in the second round. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like, subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss the absolute best MMA content out there. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Tim Means versus Lorenzo Staropoli is a welterweight bout. Tim Means has achieved a record of 29 wins, 12 losses, and 1 draw. Lorenzo Staropoli has achieved a record of 9 wins, 2 losses. Alright, so Tim Means is actually 36 years old right now, and Lorenzo Staropoli is only 27. Alright, so Lorenzo Staropoli actually went 7-1 before he actually joined a major MMA promotion, and once he joined the UFC in 2018, he ended up winning 2 unanimous decision wins over Hector Aldana and Thiago Alves. But after those first 2 wins, he ended up fighting a top 25 welterweight in Muslim Salikov, but ended up losing that fight by unanimous decision. Alright, now let's take a look at his opponent, Tim Means. Alright, so Tim Means is just a straight UFC veteran, as he's been fighting there since 2012, and so far has had 20 fights with the promotion. Now, his record inside the UFC is 11-9, and it was against pretty good competition, including guys like Jorge Masvidal, Neil Magny, Matt Brown, Alex Oliveira, Bilal Muhammad, Sergio Moraes, Nico Price, and Thiago Alves. But out of all those guys that I just mentioned, he actually only beaten one of them in Thiago Alves, who is another veteran fighter. Alright, so I do think that Tim Means is a very good fighter. He was a very good fighter. He still is. But once he fights someone in the top 25 or top 30, he just can't seem to win. And this guy, Lorenzo Staropoli, he's just so much younger, and he seems like he is a top 25, top 30 fighter. He's just not ranked there yet. But he has experience to compete with someone like Tim Means. So I think Lorenzo Staropoli is going to have a good time and win this fight by unanimous decision. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like, subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss the absolute best MMA content out there. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Kevin Holland versus Joaquin Buckley is a middleweight bout. Kevin Holland has achieved a record of 17 wins, 5 losses. Joaquin Buckley has achieved a record of 10 wins, 2 losses. Alright, so Joaquin Buckley is actually making a debut in this fight, and he's fought about a week ago. Alright, so Joaquin Buckley ended up winning his first 6 pro fights, 3 by decision and 3 by KO. And after that impressive start to his career, he ended up fighting Jackie Gosh, but he ended up getting KO'd inside of the first round. Now, after his first loss ever, he fought Justin Patterson and Vincius de Jesus, and he actually ended up beating both of them by decision. Now, after those 2 wins, he fought Chris Harris and ended up winning that fight by first round KO. And in his next fight, it was a rematch against Jackie Gosh, who actually previously beat him by KO, but this time he had it much better as he ended up getting the KO victory in the second round. Alright, now, let's take a look at his opponent, Kevin Holland. So, Kevin Holland was actually supposed to fight Trevin Giles last week, but due to Trevin Giles fainting minutes before the fight was supposed to start, the fight was canceled. Alright, so Kevin Holland technically has 7 fights with this promotion, if you're counting the fight on Dana White's Contender Series. But after he won that fight inside of the Contender Series, he actually fought someone he just should not have been fighting. in Thiago Santos, and he ended up losing that by decision. Now, after that loss against a former light heavyweight title challenger, he ended up going on a 3-fight win streak over John Phillips by rear naked choke in the 3rd round, Gerald Meerschaert by decision, and Alessio Di Chirico by decision. Now, after that impressive streak, he fought the young talent in Brendan Allen, but he ended up losing that fight by rear naked choke in the 2nd round. But since that fight, he actually has not lost since, and in his most recent fight against Anthony Hernandez, he actually ended up winning by TKO in less than 40 seconds of the 1st round. Alright, so for my prediction for the Trevin Giles-Kevin Holland fight, I had Kevin Holland winning that fight, and seeing as this fight is sort of a step down for Holland against someone in their debut, I think that Holland will have a good time in this fight and easily get the win by KO in the 2nd round. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put it in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like, subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss the absolute best MMA content out there. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Nasrat Haqparast versus Alex Munoz is a lightweight bout. Nasrat Haqparast has achieved a record of 11 wins, 3 losses. Alex Munoz has achieved a record of 6 wins with absolutely no losses. Alright, so Alex Munoz is an undefeated fighter, and in his first 2 fights, he achieved 2 first-round KOs, followed by a first-round submission. And after those 3 wins, he got a unanimous decision win, which granted him a spot on Dana White's Contender Series against Nick Newell. And in the fight, he ended up winning the fight by unanimous decision. Now, usually Dana White will choose 2, maybe 3 out of the 5 winners, but he's only supposed to pick 1. But Alex Munoz just didn't impress Dana enough, and he just wasn't granted a UFC contract. Now, after that win, he was 5-0, and he decided to have one more fight outside of UFC, and he ended up winning by unanimous decision. Alright, now, let's take a look at his opponent, Nasrat Haqparast. Alright, so Nasrat Haqparast was 8-1 outside of the UFC, and he was actually on an 8-fight win streak when he was granted a spot inside of the UFC's roster. Now, once he got inside the UFC, he ended up losing his first fight to Marcin Held by unanimous decision. Now, after his first loss inside the UFC, he went on a 3-fight win streak over Mark Diakiese by unanimous decision, Thibaut Gouti by unanimous decision, and Joaquim Silva by KO in the 2nd round. After those 3 wins in a row inside of the UFC, he fought the 14th best lightweight in the world in Drew Dober, but he ended up getting KO'd in 1 minute, 10 seconds of the very first round. Alright, so Nasrat Haqparast is actually the 28th best lightweight in the world, while Alex Munoz is only ranked 145th. Alright, so although Alex is an undefeated fighter, he's not really fought anyone good, and Nasrat, he's much younger. Alex is 30 years old, Nasrat is 23 years old right now, and, Alex Munoz only has 6 fights on his resume at 30 years old. That leads to my decision. I think that Nasrat Haqparast is going to get the win by unanimous decision. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or just have something to say, make sure to put in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like, subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss the absolute best MMA content out there. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Andrew Sanchez versus Wellington Turman is a middleweight bout. Andrew Sanchez has achieved a record of 11 wins, 5 losses. Wellington Turman has achieved a record of 16 wins, 3 losses. Alright, so Wellington Turman is actually ranked 39th at middleweight in the world, and Andrew Sanchez is ranked 36th in the world at middleweight. Alright, so Wellington Turman started his pro career with 8 straight wins, but after that impressive streak, he fought John Sakara and ended up losing that fight by unanimous decision. Now, after his first loss, he ended up winning 3 straight fights by first-round KO, first-round submission, and a decision win. Now, after those 3 wins, he was 11-1, but he ended up losing to Carlton Harris by unanimous decision. Now, after that second loss, he actually ended up going on a 4-fight win streak, 2 of which were by decision, and 2 of which were by submission. Now, after those 4 wins, the UFC actually gave him a fight against Carl Robertson, which he ended up losing by split decision. Now, after that loss, the UFC gave him one more fight against Marcus Perez, where he won very impressively by unanimous decision. Alright, now, let's take a look at his opponent, Andrew Sanchez. Andrew Sanchez had his first fight in the UFC in 2016 in the Ultimate Fighter Season 23, where he won by unanimous decision against Khalil Rountree. Now, after that first win, he got another fight in the UFC against Trevor Smith, which he won by unanimous decision. Now, after those 2 wins, he ended up fighting the 6th best light heavyweight in the world and former light heavyweight title challenger, Anthony Smith, but ended up losing from a head kick KO in the end of the 3rd round. After his first loss inside the UFC, he had another fight inside of the Ultimate Fighter, where he ended up losing by KO in the 3rd round. Now, after those 2 losses in a row, he ended up getting 2 unanimous decision wins in a row over Marcus Perez and Marc-Andre Barrios. Now, after those 2 wins, he fought the 15th best middleweight in the world in Marvin Vettori, but ended up losing by unanimous decision. Alright, so Andrew Sanchez may have a worse record, but he has 7 fights in the UFC, while Wellington Turman only has 2. Now, even though Sanchez has more fights in the UFC, doesn't mean he's better, because he is 32 years old, while Wellington is just 24 years old. Now, I think in this fight, Wellington Turman is probably just going to go for takedowns the whole fight, and he's going to use that, plus his ground and pound, to get the win by unanimous decision. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like, subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss the absolute best MMA content out there. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Justin James versus Gavin Tucker is a featherweight bout. Justin James has achieved a record of 16 wins, 4 losses. Gavin Tucker has achieved a record of 11 wins, 1 loss. Alright, so Justin James is actually moving down from lightweight, where he was ranked 71st, and Gavin Tucker has been a featherweight and is ranked 76th. Alright, so Gavin Tucker was actually 9-0 before he joined the UFC, and when he joined, he ended up getting a unanimous decision win over Sam Sicilian, but after that first UFC win, he fought Rick Glenn, who was a top 50 featherweight in the world, and ended up losing by unanimous decision. Now, after his first loss inside of the UFC, and ever, he faced Young Woo Choi and ended up getting the win by rear naked choke in the 3rd round. Alright, now, let's take a look at his opponent, Justin James. Alright, so Justin James actually started off his pro career with a record of 15-4, with his 4 losses coming against guys that aren't even ranked, and all of his wins except for his most recent fight coming against guys that are just plain terrible, some with 0 wins and some with just huge losing records. Now, he does have one notable fight, and that was in his last one against Frank Camacho, who he beat by KO in less than 45 seconds of the very first round. Now, even though Justin beat Frank Camacho, who was ranked higher than Gavin Tucker, we didn't really get to see much of anything in that fight but his power. But seeing as Gavin Tucker has never been knocked out in a fight, I don't really think Justin's power will do all that much to help him get the win, because Gavin has won basically all of his fights, and he's faced 3 guys in the UFC. So, that leads to my decision. I think that Gavin Tucker is going to get the win by unanimous decision. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put in the comment section below, and I'll make sure back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like, subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss the absolute best MMA content out there. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Yusuf Zalal versus Peter Barrett is a featherweight bout. Yusuf Zalal has achieved a record of 9 wins, 2 losses. Peter Barrett has achieved a record of 11 wins, 3 losses. Alright, so Peter Barrett was supposed to fight Steve Garcia, but Garcia ended up pulling out of the fight with Yusuf Zalal stepping in on short notice. Now, the odds for this fight, if Garcia did not withdraw, were 84% going towards Garcia, so we'll see what happens in this replacement fight. Alright, so Peter Barrett went 10-3 in some smaller known MMA promotions, which granted him a shot on Dana White's Contender Series. Now, in his Contender Series fight, he faced Sang Hoon Yo, who was previously undefeated, but he ruined that streak as he won the fight by unanimous decision, granting him a shot inside of the UFC. Alright, now let's take a look at his opponent, Yusuf Zalal. Alright, so Yusuf Zalal started his pro career with 6 straight wins, 5 that were by submission, and 1 that was by KO. Now, after that impressive streak, he ended up fighting Jose Marisol and Matt Jones back-to-back, but ended up losing to both of them by split and unanimous decision. Now, after those 2 losses, he was 6-2, but he actually hasn't lost since, as he's beaten Jamie Hernandez by flying knee, which actually impressed the UFC as they gave him a fight against Austin Lingo. Now, in that fight, Yusuf was just dominating and ended up getting the win by unanimous decision. Now, after his first win inside the UFC, he fought a top 100 featherweight in the world in Jordan Griffin and ended up getting the win by unanimous decision. Alright, so in this fight, I expect Yusuf Zalal to do what he did in the fight against Austin Lingo and just keep on taking down Peter Barrett over and over and over again, get ground and pound. And with that being said, I expect him to get the win by unanimous decision. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or just have something to say, make sure to put in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to react to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like, subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss the absolute best MMA content out there. It's been fun, but I'm out of here. Ali Al-Quaisi versus Erwin Rivera is a bantamweight bout. Ali Al-Quaisi has achieved a record of 8 wins, 3 losses. Erwin Rivera has achieved a record of 9 wins, 5 losses. Alright, so Erwin Rivera started his pro career with 4 straight wins, 2 that were by first round KO, and 2 that were by decision. Now, after those 4 straight wins, he fought Steven Patterson, who is actually ranked 89th at featherweight, but ended up losing that fight by decision. Now, after his first loss, he fought Jose Ceja and ended up winning that fight at the last second with a rear naked choke victory. Now, after that win, since he won that last fight super close to the end of the fight, he had a rematch with Jose, but this time it was a lot different as he lost that time by first round KO. After that loss, he fought an LFA beast in Kevin Natividad, but ended up losing that fight by unanimous decision. Now, after those 2 losses, he fought Chino Duran and ended up winning by unanimous decision. Now, after that win, he fought Edir Terry, but ended up getting his leg kick in just over a minute of the first round, and he had to pull out, giving him another loss. But I wouldn't really say that counts as a loss because his leg got hurt in the fight. Now, after that unfortunate loss, he went on a 3-fight win streak, all by KO, which ended up granting him a fight in the UFC against Giga Chikadze, who was actually ranked 46th at featherweight. But he ended up getting the loss by unanimous decision. Alright, now let's take a look at his opponent, Ali Al-Quaisi. Alright, so Ali Al-Quaisi actually ended up losing his first 2 pro fights by first round submission and unanimous decision. Now, after those 2 losses, he ended up winning 3 fights in a row, 1 by first round submission, 1 by first round KO, and 1 by unanimous decision. Now, after that, he was 3-2, but ended up hitting a roadblock in Yinabao and lost the fight by decision. Now, after his third loss, he ended up winning 5 fights in a row, 3 by submission and 2 by decision. Alright, so, Ali Al-Quaisi, he just likes to use his submissions in his fights, but his fights have been against really low tier fighters, and I don't really think he'll have the same skill sets to beat Erwin Rivera as he did in the previous fights, because Erwin Rivera is a guy that's never been submitted in his pro career. Also, Erwin Rivera's striking is just so much more superior than Ali Al-Quaisi, and with that being said, I think that Erwin Rivera is going to get the win by unanimous decision. Alright, if you agree, disagree, or have something to say, make sure to put in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to get back to every single one of those comments. Make sure to like, subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss the absolute best MMA content out there. It's been fun, but I'm out of here.